Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Broken by Concept, episode 70. We got Nathan, we got me, we got the questionable poster. We're rock and rolling.
Worlds, Curtis, it started up.
Yep.
Is it an exciting time of year, Curtis? League of Legends Worlds?
Look, I used to get really hyped for it.
Yeah.
Look, I enjoy Worlds.
It's still an event, right?
It's still a great event. I would say I start to really pay attention towards like quarterfinals. Groups, like I'll tune in. I'll like definitely watch the highlights of all the like, but I wouldn't like stay up and like, you know, ruin my schedule or anything.
Our schedule
to
is literally the worst possible, Curtis, right?
It's terrible for us. We can't watch anything.
We go to sleep at 10 o'clock. It starts at 10 o'clock.
Well, I think when we wake up in the morning, we might see the back end of
The last game, whatever. Like literally we're a perfect like 8 hours broadcast done, which is disastrous. We're VODs people for Worlds, unfortunately.
Yep. Did you watch any of the OS?
Obviously, you know, supporting OS, see how we're doing.
Yep.
I mean, it is interesting. I mean, you know, we are punching above our weight. There's a great tweet. I can't remember who it was by. You know, he said, you take 15 of our best players and we're still beating these like regions, you know, it's like Brazilian players and stuff. They don't really go over to NA and stuff, you know, so we are an impressive region, you know. I mean, especially, you look at people like, you know, who are overseas now, Fudge and, you know, King, Shern,
Yeah, they've
Triple.
literally taken everyone.
They
took all the top 3-4
FBI
rosters.
and...
Yeah, they took
Lost.
the 3 top 4 rosters,
So
basically.
we're an interesting region in the history of, you know, you got people like Papa Smithy and stuff. Atlas, you know, we've made some
Spawn.
We've made a bit of a mark on the esports League of Legends ecosystem.
Did you actually see the C9 versus Peace?
The best of 5.
The best of 5.
I just watched because I saw 0-3. I saw the first game, and then there's like if you got an early lead, like they do, and you still like lose that game, like because I knew the result obviously, then I just didn't watch the other games. It's like you obviously know they're just better team, you know.
But it impressed me the fact that they were able to get remotely
it's
that
great
close.
stuff.
I mean, that's terrifying. I don't want to. We could go on for hours here.
That's right.
Not what we're about, but
Yeah.
I mean, C9 not being top of their group, Japan as well.
They have the advantage of playing on Korea, right? So,
I mean, we had this discussion in my Discord where like, yeah, they have good SoloQ because they don't play in Japan, they play in Korea, but they have terrible scrim partners.
do they really?
I mean, no one scrims them.
Got
Japan is a terrible region.
Yeah, so the Korean teams
comparatively
wouldn't scrim
Korean
them.
teams are no way going to scrim Japan. And you compare that with UOL, for example. I thought that UOL I could see them beating C9 because they have European solo queue and they would probably be able to scrim a lot of the other like EU master teams.
ERL teams and stuff. Yeah.
And that's like there's a lot of good teams in there. So wouldn't surprise me if UOL would beat C9, but
So UOL's
C9
Russia, right? That's Russia.
Yeah, Russia. But C9 losing to Japan, in my mind, is a little bit embarrassing. But look, we'll save that for another time. But look, I think Worlds overall, though, I'm excited for quarterfinals. It'll be interesting to kind of see. I'm actually interested for Group D. I think that's the one with LNG. It has, I think it was LNG, Gen.G, Fnatic, and there's another team. But that was before the upset changes, and that upset's gone, so probably going to be a bit of a stomp. No, it's Mad, not Fnatic.
Yeah.
Mad, LNG, Gen.G.
I think and Team Liquid.
And Liquid.
Yeah.
That's a hard group. I mean, obviously Liquid aren't going to make it through. But then it's out of Mad, Gen.G, and LNG. Who's going to make it through there? Because Mad are a very good team.
Yeah.
And I always favor like Europeans over Korean teams usually. So just in terms of like their craziness and their uniqueness. So that'll be interesting. What's your prediction, by the way, in terms of winning Worlds?
I have zero prediction. I'm open-minded.
You're not even going to guess.
The groups for me are actually the most exciting bit.
Interesting.
It's like the groups and like the finals and the semis and stuff. Because like groups, you get to see all the regions versus each other, and you get to see because remember groups never go the way people predict, and I love seeing.
What's the upset going to be?
It's more the storyline. It's like who can like break the mold, or like you know who can like upset. You know, like that's what I like about groups. Is it actually creates a good narrative around the rest of the tournament.
That is true. And there is a bit of momentum there, right? You could build momentum.
And especially just the way that, because we know the way that the league season works, everything works up. So it's very emotional getting knocked out, you know, because your season's over and usually the teams disband, right? So, you know, you see all that everything coming together.
And some of these players know that they're not going to play again for the org as well.
That's right. Everything's on the line, you know.
Yeah, will be interesting.
Interesting quickly about viewership. Very high for planes. I think something like 1 million or something across all the platforms.
Oh, really?
For planes.
That's great. That's awesome. Why is that, you reckon?
And everyone's saying viewership's so bad in like NA and stuff. And I think you know what's happened, and this is just for consistency. Worlds on the same time around every year. People will tune in, even if I feel like they don't play League or whatever, or you don't really watch the NLCS or esports. Everyone just knows the event. Like, you know, that consistency every year. Like, that's how a great event's made, I think.
That is true.
The consistency, it's every year. This is the time. This is Worlds. See the best players in League of Legends versus each other. I think that in general, League have done an exceptional job of making that Worlds like an event.
It's a good narrative. It's a very good narrative that they built. And this will be Faker's probably
and Faker's
last,
back.
Well, his last Worlds.
Why do you think that? Really?
I mean, I thought
Dude, he was going to be going for another 5 years, Curtis.
Really?
Yeah, dude. He's a beast. Faker's a beast, man. I love Faker.
He's like the Tom Brady.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so anyway. So,
We've got
yeah.
to do a viewing party.
Yeah, we'll do
for Worlds. We've got to do a viewing party.
Yeah, we'll just have to completely sack our schedule, Curtis.
I think it depending on the day. If it's on a weekend, we could do it. Or Friday night,
true.
or Saturday night, we could do it.
Yeah, just do good.
It was screw us for the next day. Yep. As long as it's not on a Sunday night, we're all good.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure the one that comes to those finals. All right, Curtis, so should we start with your obsession with Formula One driving?
Yep. I'm obsessed.
You're obsessed.
I am obsessed.
More so than me.
Well, it's more the parallels between Formula One and SoloQ.
Yeah.
There is and League. There is so many parallels.
You have, so right now, Curtis, when you enter your coaching sessions, you're just like, you've watched Drive to Survive. Everything's an analogy. It's like, so, you know, something happens in mid lane. So what's going on here is that the pit stop here, like you just didn't trust like your pit stop and you just left too early. Like you have like,
no, I do. I have used that. I have used the pit stop from like a tempo perspective.
Yeah.
And I have used the F1 as like, if you're overstaying on the map, you haven't like refueled or you haven't changed your tires and then someone's going to overtake you.
It's good. That's a good analogy.
It's a good analogy.
It is good.
But there's so many parallels. That's why I love it. And it's just a great sport. And I think that for people that struggle with dealing with things that are out of their control, just watching a little bit of F1 and like watching that series on Netflix, that will kind of put things in perspective. Like, holy shit. There's a lot. I mean, this looks a lot more frustrating than my experiences. And how the hell do they deal with it? So I told you to watch the Michael Schumacher documentary.
You gave me some homework, Curtis.
So
first thing that stood out to me, Curtis.
Wait, who is Michael Schumacher?
Who is Michael Schumacher?
So for those people who are not familiar with F1 and don't give a shit
should.
about F1, why should they care about Michael Schumacher and who is he?
I mean, I heard his name growing up.
For our generation.
Even though I never watched F1. So I heard of him. So I was like, oh, this guy's probably a legend in the
because he was in his
Formula 1
prime.
scene.
That was between the years of 2000 and 2005. That was like his prime in terms of like performance. And we were born in 1995, so we would have been between the age of 5 and 10.
Young whippersnappers.
So we would have heard his name on the news or our fathers talking about him or something like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so he's obviously a legend in the Formula 1 scene.
Legend in the F1 scene. Won, I don't know if he's won the most championships, but he's won a metric ton of championships. German. He was like the face of Germany at the time. Incredibly dominant. I think he won 4 championships in a row. Or was it 4 or 5 between the years of 2000 and 2004, 2005 with the one team, Ferrari. He won championships before that, but like in a row, consecutive championships, which we know not only getting to the top is one thing, but staying on top is a whole different ballgame.
Absolutely.
Mentally,
Especially
with
for many years
motivational
at a time.
issues, people knowing all your techniques and your tactics. There is so many factors at play. People want to tear you down. The media, everyone wants you to lose at some point.
Everyone's waiting for that person to lose.
So what did you take away, Nathan?
All right, so I'm going to quote out something here. This is the first quote of the series. It's obviously Michael Schumacher talking about his mindset, his approach to Formula One racing and his success. When I read this out, I want you to replace in your mind the word car with champion. All right? It's very short here. You have to become one with the car. You should know exactly how much stress you can give to the car because there's always a limit. And you should be careful, like with everything in life you like, you have to have that kind of feeling to not go over the top or not be under it. And if you do that, then both of us will be satisfied, meaning the car and I. 100% perfection to reach 100%, that's my target. I'm just that type of person. I couldn't live with anything lower. And I think that a car is the best analogy in terms of thinking about, we talk about when you play a champion league, you're using it as a tool to win the game. Like, let's say there's a difference between maybe a car and a hammer, right? A hammer, there's only like so much you can really do with it, right? I mean, there might be some like expert here that says, Nathan, you can do a million things with a hammer, but like a car's perfect because you can go fast, you can go slow, you can, that's really it.
Well, there's many aspects. No, you're spot on because you can, think about, that's why like a car in a race is a beautiful analogy for league. Is because
there's a start and a finish.
There's a start and a finish, and it's what happens at the beginning is like it changes. The race changes with psychological factors between you and your drivers, and the pit stop changes, and your certain cars have different strengths and weaknesses. So certain cars might have better acceleration, but other cars have more speeds down the straights. Others have more better steering and better around corners. Like each car and even driver has differing strengths and weaknesses, and it's your relationship with that car or champion in many ways that allows you to kind of, and like the striving to reach that 100% is it's so applicable to league in so many ways.
Thinking about champion limits, right? It's like let's say you're like in the lane phase and you're like trying to like squeeze out trades and stuff. It's like 100% perfection and thinking about how can I get the most out of this champion, that damage, that auto attack ability reset. I think it's really good in terms of like the way the moment he said that, I was literally just thinking the car's a champion in my eyes.
Right. Yeah.
Use it as a tool. Like my goal.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. That's a really great analogy.
My goal is like, how can I get the most out of the champion? And there's a lot that they talk about in the documentary, how he's just ability to go down around corners at the maximum amount of speed possible. That's what made him the difference in terms of he was able to get the most juice out of the car. Like people going 150 miles per hour, like around these, he would be going 150 miles per hour across these bends, and that's like really fast. But he's like just on like the brink of like losing control of the car,
And if you crash, you're dead.
That's right, potentially, and that's what he was known for. He's been really reckless driver, but he was able to push that to the limit. So I think that's like part of the limit test. And obviously, the great thing about League of Legends, if you limit test in League, you don't die, literally. But I think you got to have the same mindset. And especially in my ranked journey, I'm sort of picking up Elise and stuff like that, and Jarvan, and like these champs that are, you can't really make mistakes. Like it's really important to, because you can't really carry like in the late game. You're a bit of a more facilitator or get lanes ahead. And, mechanics, it's like, how can I use my EQ here, ult, or, do I hold cocoon here? Just getting the limits out of the champion. Again, also psychologically as well in terms of, skill shot usage and stuff. So I think that, having that analogy, just thinking about your champion as like your car. It's like, there's sometimes to go fast and sometimes to go slow in the game. Sometimes, I had a great example of a game I played, I reviewed with my members on SoloQ on the weekend where, we were 6-0. Like I did great as the early game for release. And then like, I just made another play. I just didn't need to. All I had to do was just sit back and just farm. I've done my job. We were going to win the game, but I put myself in a position to lose the game. That would be maybe an example of the pit stop. It's like, I didn't go, that's like not going to the pit stop and refreshing and then coming back up to make sure you're keeping that tempo.
Well, that's interesting you say that because there's a scene in the documentary where Michael Schumacher actually does go too far. So he took it to the extreme. So like he puts himself in a great position. Like he's gonna win. Like he's gonna win the race. Like you just got to take it easy. But that's not his
mindset.
Like, that's not his mindset because
it's 100% perfection all the time.
It's very difficult to switch between that mindset.
It is.
So like even if you're playing Elise and you've got this, say you're killing it, you snowboard lanes, you're playing flawless League of Legends. It's very difficult to say, look, let me just take the foot off the pedal. I don't need to probably walk that tightrope anymore. I can probably just be a little bit under it just for a little bit of safety or a more reliability. I don't need to do that. And that's for you, that one extra play that you probably didn't need to. Maybe it could have worked, but I don't need to risk that. Let's go on a little bit on the conservative side. And Michael was the same thing. I think there was like a scene where he was going to win. He was going to win the race. And he was all he had to do was overtake the last person. Like he had to lap them. And like he could have waited until like a safer part of the track, but he's like, no, I can do it here, and then crashes and then just throws the race. And it's like, that's that mindset. He's like, well, if I can do it, I can do it. But, it's very dangerous. I think I think you're spot on, though. That's a very beautiful a very beautiful analogy. The car is your champion. And I think that's
and pushing limits to 100%. That's champion mastery.
Building a relationship with the car champion. And with the champion. Yeah.
He said the first thing, you have to become one with the car.
And it takes time and thoughtfulness and intention and reflection. It's like you're literally building a relationship with this thing, with this object, with this thing that you're interacting with it. And it gives you information, and you're going to take that and you're going to, adjust appropriately. And I feel as though, the car and the champions are one aspect of racing that is very similar to League. But I think another one is how there is so many elements that are completely out of your control. So to give a bit of context, I don't want to spoil too much for those who watch it, but he joined. So the way it works is like a car company who make the car, like they have to redevelop a car every year, and they get like engines from like maybe one manufacturer, and they get the chassis and then the brakes. They'll get things from different places, but largely if you're with a team, they'll have to they have to make that car every year. And he was with he's with a team, and he could have gone with any team at the time. He could have gone to like McLaren, who were really good, Mercedes and things like that. But he decided to go with Ferrari for like the prestige and like it would have been a really awesome storyline, because Ferrari at the time hadn't won a championship in I think it was like 30 years or something. So he's like, well, I want to do that. All these champions have tried to win a championship with Ferrari and haven't done it. I'm going to try and do that. And race after race, he would have technical difficulties. Sometimes his car was crashing out on the warm-up lap. So imagine this: you're the champion. You're in your mind, you are capable.
Yeah.
But because of variables that are completely out of your control, you have to just suck it up. It's like, well, what do I do? So what did he do? Instead of having hissy fit and then quitting and going to another team, which would be the equivalent of changing champion, or quitting the game or whatever, or blaming the meta, blaming all these people around you, ruining your game, blaming all these things. He said, okay, let's get into the details. Stays overtime into the garage with his mechanics, goes doing insane hours on these days. Like you see just waking up early, going straight to the track, testing all day, literally doesn't leave, had dinner in the garage, testing until nighttime, didn't even see his wife barely at all, just boom, 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 trying to perfect the car and build the car. And even if he knew that the opposing drivers had better cars. Imagine going into the race knowing that
I'm a better driver than someone, but they're beating me because they're better cars.
Everyone thinks that, and these people might not know I'm better, right? Like that's a big ego problem that a lot of people have in League, and I've noticed that tilt people is that, what is one of the common ones? Oh, this guy doesn't know that he made the mistake, or these people don't know that I'm actually better than this guy or whatever, and that it impacts their level of play. The public is going to be saying, look how great these other racers are. Look at Michael Schumacher. He's washed up. But little do they know the car is actually playing a huge toll on his ability to drive and his mindset. So he had to go out there, and instead of giving up, I think he tried for between 1995
and 2000.
It didn't take it took 5 years of losing until he won a championship.
And then he won 4 years.
And then he won 5 years in a row.
Yeah, 2000.
Because it was like a relief. It was like weight lifted off his shoulder. But what I admire about that is he could have easily just joined a better car company. He could have just given up. But he motivated everyone around him. He went above and beyond, got into the details, took responsibility, and built an awesome car. Built a car. And I love that, because people and we're guilty of this many, many times, is that your default response is like your brain is going to be wired towards getting frustrated at the things that are outside your control. Ex teammate, ex meta, my champ this, my champ that, their champ's just better. But okay, cool. What do you want to do? Do you want to keep switching your champ every few months? It's going to bite you in the long run. Or do you want to actually just get really, really good at what you know and then overcome that way? And I admired that mindset really, like, a lot.
The other thing as well for that is you might be close. You don't realize it though. Like, especially in League, how many situations where it's like, it's looking all grim and then suddenly just clicks, and then, again, if you look at the results, it's like you just climb like a lot in short periods of time. Like, you never know. Like, I think that, especially for me as well, like, I feel like that, I'm like, you could look at my OPGG right now and be like, this guy, Java and Elise is not working. But like, I feel like I just polishing up things.
Yeah.
Like, I really think I'm getting close. Like, maybe I'm delusional or what, but like, I'm just going to stick it out, and like, I might get nowhere for the rest of the season. I might barely finish Grandmaster, right? But like next season, I'm confident. Like I actually am really confident in my gameplay right now, as much as it might not look. Like, you know, I'm just like messing up this skirmish. Like this one game, I just can't hit a cocoon. You know, like get into the details, mechanics and stuff. And I think it's, you know, that watching the documentary, literally like usually I don't play at night, and like I watched that, I was like, I want to play another 3 block at night, and you know, the intensity wasn't really there. That I'm really having fun. You know, like just try. It's gonna click. I know. I'm confident it's gonna click.
And that's very difficult to do.
It is hard.
Like what you're doing right now with your champs, so your Java and Elise, it's no one would do that.
No one would do that. No.
People are not going to do that.
Yeah.
But that's going to pay off in the long run because you're getting to a level of champ mastery and champ understanding that is far superior to anyone else. And yep, it's going to take a level of like execution or you got to adapt and maybe improve certain aspects. But you know, once it does click, that's going to be a very powerful skill set. But on top of that, the mindset you're developing there is bulletproof. You know, that's a mindset there that you're developing that will pay dividends in the long run, regardless of learning any champion. You know, I think you're spot on. Funny you say that. Now, look, I know this is going to go a little bit off topic. I think we'll come back to Michael Schumacher, and I just got to talk about this. So, there's a little bit of a sneak peek into the book that we're reading for the book club this month. It's called Fooled by Randomness by Nassim Taleb. And there's a section in the book that I wanted to share with you guys. I don't have it on me, but I really remember it. It's basically this book talks about how humans are very bad at perceiving risk. We're very bad at really understanding how risk works, and our risk perception, the way how we perceive risk, is not actually done with the logical part of our brain. It's done through emotions. So when we are trying to, you know, really figure out something and sit there and be logical about it, we actually struggle. We really, really struggle. And this guy who's an expert on risk, he actually accepted that he knows he's bad with risk. So he puts himself in a scenario where he's like, I'm just not going to touch it. So an example, when he was working as a trader, he didn't even bother to read the newspaper or get updated with the news at the time because he knew that it would impact his decision making, and he wouldn't be able to filter between the information that's really important and the things that are not important. And he's aware of his inefficiencies to deal with risk assessment. Like he would say, all right, I'm just going to sit here. If something's really that important, it will like rise to the surface and I'll make the appropriate adjustments. But he knows he can't really forecast things properly because he's aware of his emotional deficiencies. Now, there's a chapter in this book where it talks about noise versus performance. So in everything, in any endeavor, whether it's trading, whether it's league, whatever it might be, you're going to get a lot of data, a lot of information, some of which is going to be very important for you to process. Let's call it performance. Just give that term performance. This is very important information to consider to alter your behavior, your judgments, your decisions. An example might be, okay, well, there's a huge change in the season, massive changes happening. Camps are now spawning 15 seconds later. That's a big change that's going to influence you as a jungler. And then we have information called noise, where it's, you know, it's really here nor there. It's not really that important. It's not really going to change or influence your decisions as a jungler that much. And an example of that change might be, you know, X jungle champion just got 5 movement speed. You know, it's just noise. It's useless. Or they got 1-2 base armor. It's like, okay, that might be significant in some niche scenarios, but it's largely not going to change your champ pool. It's not going to change the way that champ plays fights. It's not going to change that champ's identity. It's not going to change anything massive about that champion. Now, our job as anyone who wants to perform in any given area, we need to be able to determine with what is worth giving time and energy, what isn't. And he goes on to talk about how, because of how emotional we are when it comes to decision making, we aren't able to effectively determine what is noise and what is performance. And he broke down mathematically how it would look like if you were to zoom in if we were to check something every second, every minute, what would it look like from a perspective of like ratio from performance to noise versus if you were to check it like every year. So what he did was he took an example of a guy who was invested his money. And let's just say he was getting something like 12% gain over the course of a year. But as we know, when it comes to trading, there's going to be some parts of the year where you're going to go down, but then it's going to go up here. And but over the long run, the trajectory is upwards. And by the end of the year, he's going to have a plus 12% gain. Now, what he says, okay, if this trader were to check his stocks every day, let's say once an hour, the ratio of noise to performance is it's like 51%. You barely, or less than that, 50 point something. You wouldn't even be able to tell between in terms of what is the information that is relevant or determining my outcome and what's not.
Could you relate this to checking OPGG?
Exact same for checking OPGG.
Yeah.
If you were to check it once every hour, what you would see on your match history is not indicative whatsoever. You don't have enough information. You don't have enough data to actually know the trajectory that you're on. Now, the danger of doing this, the more you check something, your wins and losses, your match history, your OPGG, the more you're going to get influenced with what you immediately see. Now, the way our brain works is that we have a greater emotional response to losses than we do wins, both in trading and both in league.
So this is like, you could look at your OPGG for it. Yep. Let's say you played a day and played a day. You went 0 through your first block and then 1 and 2 the next blocks.
Yep.
You'd literally think
even if you went 3 and 3.
3 and 3, yeah.
Even if you went sometimes even say 4 and 2. Those two, sometimes those losses, you can perceive those losses to be so emotional that you won't really view it. You won't take the wins on board. I mean,
ones that I'll see there, it's like I'm getting worse at the game. I'm going backwards. Or
they'll just say, I got lucky in these wins anyway.
Yeah.
Like they disregard the wins, things like that, right? Like the pain that you will be inflicted, like the negative pang of the feelings that you will feel comparatively to like the positivity you'll get from getting a win, they're not proportionate. They're not equal. So the danger of checking your investment account every day or your OPGG every day is that you are going to make rash decisions based off your emotions in those moments. So what he did is that the more you zoom out, maybe if you check that stocks every month, even then sometimes we'll show, even then it's still 60% noise. It was like, or 40% noise. Like there's a lot of noise. You won't be able to tell what's really happening. And it's not until what he recommends most people is if this guy would actually not check his investment account maybe once every 6 months or once a year, he would be a better investor in the long run because he knows he's not going to make any emotional rash decisions. And he talks about this in reference to risk aversion and stuff like that and how we make emotional decisions. And I found this fascinating in how it applied to league because in a way we are terrible at understanding trends and being able to recognize upwards progression because we're so zoomed in. We're so focused on what's happened this day, these past 2 days, these past 3 days. We're not thinking about what's happened the past 2 weeks at all. Even the week, we have no idea. But we know climbing in League of Legends, it's a long-term game. If you're going to get reliable results, you're going to get that 52% win rate over a long period of time.
Michael Schumacher took 5 years.
Imagine if him thought about that, just those past 3 races, that past 4 races, 5 races, 6 races.
Imagine 2 years.
2 years.
How hard that is.
Zoom out. You got to zoom out. You got to zoom out.
Yeah.
There's probably trajectory that you're saying, even with you and your Jarvan and Elise.
When I say I'm close, I'm prepared for 6 months. Like it could be 6 months, a year. Like it could be less. But I'm on the right track. Like I see what's going on. And some games I do it well. I do it correctly. I'm like, okay, I'm capable. Like, this is really good League of Legends. Max information, good mechanics. And then some games I'm like, well, I fuck up this dive. I just took too long. The enemy team's ready to TP, GG.
And just quickly touching on that chapter of the book, what he rounds off that chapter with is like, this is why he chooses to not read the newspaper every day.
Because it's just noise.
Because he's like, yeah, I can't determine really. And I'm worried that he doesn't trust himself. Like he knows he doesn't have the...
Yeah, good at risk.
Like imagine it's an expert, a guy who literally studies it and
knows what's going on.
Expert trader knows what's going on. He still doesn't trust himself.
Yeah.
And it's kind of true in a way. It's like even us, like it's you. We
it's
like that's a toolkit.
You talked about your last
explosion,
like last week as well. So yeah, I mean we talk about all this.
I found that fascinating.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
It really is. and he says it is unavoidable. His theory is that you don't get better at risk assessment. It's like that's ingrained. That's humans' capability. That's like
we just suck at it. Just capped out suck.
So rather than just trying to get better at it, it's like, okay, I'm just going to develop a toolkit where I don't have to. I just can just go around it. Like it's there. It's a problem. I'm not going to solve this problem. Let's just go figure out a toolkit to like reduce the adverse effects of this poor risk assessment in a way, right? And funnily enough, I mean, I wasn't planning on talking about this, but just sprung to my mind. He talks about how there's the traders that for the short term, they get the short term wins, and they do really, really well. They get huge, or bring it to league, huge win rates over a short period of time. They can look amazing, and this might be over the course of a few months, right? They could have a 70% win rate over the course of 4 or 5 months, 6 months, climb really high elo, but they did it in a very unsustainable way. And then what happens when the next season rolls around? Or even this could even last them 2 years. And then at some point, their bad habits will catch up to them and they explode. And in the trading world, he has a funny term for it where their losses. So this guy talks about this story, how he made the company $50 million over the course of years. And then with one bad moment, he lost the company $600 million or something in one summer. And these people, he says they're everywhere, but we only look at a few years. But when you zoom out, these people that don't do it in a sustainable way, don't take the smaller gains, they get weird. Eventually they're going to explode. It's just a ticking time bomb. They're all a ticking time bomb, and it's exactly the same in league. I truly believe this, and we say this. There's people that climb in a very unreliable fashion, and we always get asked, how does X person climb here? X person climb here? Look at this person's habits. Look at how these people...
See them in a couple of years.
See them in a couple of years.
I have the perfect example here. Terath, my coaching client, right? SoloQ member. I think season 8 or season 9, 2 seasons ago, he got to like 800 LP playing Skarner, right? And then the next 2 years would be getting for like 200 LP, 300 LP, going to Diamond 4. Like, just being stuck in time for long periods of time. And as until now, the 3-block process. He literally just puts it down to the 3-block process in Champ Mastery. He's been playing Lilia and Kane, now he's 900 LP Challenger, and when I talk to him about the game now, it's like he actually has a good understanding of the game, but he said he knew nothing about the game when he got to, like, I think he was like top 20 or top 50 when he played Skarner, when he got to Challenger. I think it was season 9, I think it was. That's a perfect example. Like, he climbed in an unsustainable way, and then he just boomed for 2 seasons.
They had a huge explosion.
Yeah, like literally Diamond 4. Yeah. We're talking about Diamond 4. I can remember he came to me at the start of this year saying, I'm fucked, like that's why he came to SoloQ, and now he's actually becoming a good player.
And it's always in an extravagant fashion as well. It's like this huge explosion.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge going from 800 LP to Diamond 4. That's huge. Yeah,
that's huge. I mean, you wouldn't think that's possible, but it happens because people can find niche little ways to climb in an unsustainable fashion.
And he was doing like 15 games a day, like all that sort of stuff, and now he's just 3 blocks only.
Wow. I love it. I love the parallels. Think about it. We're going from the trading world to League of Legends to driving. It's very similar. Niki Lauda actually talks about this. Niki Lauda, the F1 driver, in his book, he spoke about how there are F1 drivers that aren't sustainable. Like, he talks about like long-term sustainable, like they take unnecessary risks, and how he's very critical of certain drivers. I found it's kind of in a way that's kind of, I mean, these people could get away with it, but if they were to win championship without dying, every year, they're just not going to make it, I found that interesting as well.
I guess that's what makes Faker so great. Just his consistency over
a
long time.
You cannot, like, this is why veterans, like the real good veterans, they are way better than people think. Like Core JJ is,
exceptional.
I cannot emphasize how good that player is.
Yeah.
Like, that guy is unbelievable. Time is the best. What's the quote? Time is the best indicator of success, or how good someone is. Like, everything gets tested by time.
Niki Lauda, I think in the book that we read, said that he doesn't care about the first world championship. It's, can you repeat that?
Always. Time and time. It's not getting Challenger once. It's, can you get Challenger multiple seasons? Time and time and time and time again. I don't care about the one-time season Challenger play. Whoop-de-doo. Are you going to do that again and then again and then again? Great. Then that's okay. Then you finally can probably, that's like, you get that respect from, from those players. It's like, I get that, But Core JJ, world champion, doesn't get complacent.
Stays on the same team, Liquid just
Faker.
chipping
You
away.
cannot. It's like you compare that with the one, the one hit wonders, one season, cool. Where are they now? There are those players. They exist. Were there any other parallels from the documentary from F1 specifically that you can draw to League as well?
That was it. I just had those 2 points.
He was very process oriented, that's for sure. He definitely had a solid process.
One thing I love that they said that as just from a kid, he had a professional mindset. A professional approach. That's fascinating. From a kid that young.
His upbringing was very unique in that sense.
Having a professional mindset to things is really important. Like, this is a craft, and it's so easy. And this is why I think that a lot of people like our podcast and come to us, is that we bring that professional sort of mindset to a video game, which like people get so surprised by that because you're ingrained.
The way of viewing League.
You're ingrained. Video games, you're either good or you're not, or like they're a waste of time,
just talent.
or just pure talent.
Yep.
And that's what I think is really interesting about that professional mindset.
It's the mindset towards the improvement. Are you going to take it? And that's what we really mean by like the student mindset and taking it seriously. It's what we really mean. That's what you actually mean. You're spot on. But worth a watch for those of you, even if you're not into F1. Great story.
Schumacher is the
documentary on Netflix.
Yeah.
So moving on.
Yep. You want to talk about the 30-30-40 rule?
So a while ago, we had that infamous. Remember that video that we were around the dinner table?
Yep.
And where did it all start? So this is we're talking about the coin flip video. I made a video 30-30-40.
No, you overheard me say it. I remember one of my coaching sessions. I said another thing. I said it was something like 20-20-60 or something.
You said some like ratio in one of your coaching sessions, and I just disagreed with it. And then we started talking about it over dinner. I was like, there's no way it's 20-20 something.
Yeah. And
we started talking about it more and more over dinner. And then like we started talking about it more, and we came to the conclusion that it really was 30-30-40. There's so many Reddit posts about it.
Yeah, other people. I saw Captain Flowers.
Someone actually broke it down and did an experiment.
Oh, really?
I was so close.
Really?
I'm basically hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
That's what it showed. It was fascinating.
I get the way that we did it with the question was, if you're the best player in the world, if you were to climb to Challenger
over
300 games,
more than 500 games,
you could max out at 70% win rate.
And it's stood the test of time.
That's still like unrealistic. I mean, because you would have to be playing perfectly. I mean, you're getting 60-65% win rate, maybe more.
I think there was one person that did have over a 70% win rate, but I don't think they had enough games.
Got it. To fit the rule.
Yeah. So regardless, anyway, I've had a few people misinterpret the intention of the video. Let's clarify what our initial intention when you said that ratio and I said this made this video.
It's not about the ratio. I'd say that's what it actually is. You don't get into the goddamn details of the ratio, okay? It's about the mindset that there's things out of your control and just the way the nature of the game is. Once you understand that there's some games that you could play really well, I mean, this is what you want to clarify, not give up, play really well and then still lose. That's a very important mindset to have in League.
Well, it's a tool for the overall journey rather than the specific game. It's not really a tool that you use in your review because...
And you're probably this good as people are applying this incorrectly.
People are trying to look at a game and determine whether or not it's like a 30 or a 40.
Typically,
free win, free loss,
a 30. They're typically trying to say, is it a 30% loss? They're trying to find that. Yeah.
And where this will stem from is when I think it was Hale. He brought up in my MLA. He said he was applying this 30-30-40 rule.
So to clarify, 30% of games are losses.
Yep.
30% are just free wins.
Yep.
And 40% of games, these are the deciders. That's purely in your control.
Purely in your control. You are the deciding factor.
Yeah.
And he was using it to determine whether or not he should continue putting effort into the game. And so his theory was that it's better, the emotional toll and the energy that you're consuming in that game is not worth it, and you'd be better off conserving that energy and caring less about that game to put it into the game afterwards. And that was the framework he was viewing it. Look, you can kind of see where he's coming from.
I like the question of conserving energy because conserving energy and mental energy, there is something to that, especially through a day as well.
But the unfortunate thing, and why I kind of disagree, and we can go back and forth in this, is that I just don't think anyone below being a professional coach can really determine whether or not the game really was a 30 or a 30 or a 40.
Yeah, it's like, how do you know?
How do you know?
You've got to be putting in that mindset. The game's 40% in your control.
Every game, because like I've seen time and time again, even me,
Yeah.
games that I thought were unwinnable, and I would have bet any amount of money that I've won.
Yeah.
They happen.
You talked to me on the phone the other day about you versus Sybil.
Yeah.
And you thought there's no way
I
you
lost the
this
game that I thought was a free win.
Yeah.
And I was streaming it, and
Yeah.
I just didn't think it was possible.
Yeah.
Like the jungler Sybil, who's Nathan made a video with him, he was playing Talia, and he was 0-3 versus a fed Echo jungle, a fed Aurelia mid. I think I top Cho'Gath into a Jack solo killed as well. In my mind, there was zero way, and he was 0-3. I invaded him. I was support. I invaded him at these Raptors with my jungler, killed him again. Like, there was zero way of winning. But he had an Aphelios that was pretty farmed, and like he lane ganked creatively towards his win con, did these really interesting picks. People messed up. We messed up a dive. And like, it was just little things incrementally
to get back into the game.
Then they just won. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Because people play worse when ahead as well. Like, people just get complacent.
Right. Yeah.
So he understands that. So I think Sybil intuitively really understands people play worse from ahead. People make mistakes. People don't play and they're not going to foresee creative plays. They think you're going to roll over. And I thought he was just going to roll over, you know? People most of the time do. But they are... And that... If you were to look at it objectively, this is a 30... Like, if you're the mid laner there, I think it was like a Kiana. It was a Kiana, which is a terrible matchup into Aurelia as well. Like, you got by lethality into someone who gets Tarbies into the early game.
Like, overall, your comp still did really well into them.
Yeah, we said a Cho'Gath counters Jax, Aurelia counters Kiana, Fed Echo into Talia is amazing. Like, I was playing Rakan, like, I just felt like it was over. And it just wasn't. And that game, you know, you could easily say, I mean, there was if applying this rule, Sybil could have easily said, oh, okay, I don't want to waste any minutes. Let's just roll over, you know.
I want to save my mental energy.
Save my energy. Let's go to the next game. But he won. So, like, if that happens, and even myself, I can barely determine what's winnable, then there's no way the average player is going to be able to do it, you know? So, look, then if you can view it in percentages, then let's just say out of the games that you would deem unwinnable, you still win, say, you win 1 out of 5 of them. Then you might say, well, look, I'd rather still conserve my energy. Then that will really come down to personal preference. Are you okay with losing this game that you could have won? And then it's just the premise. Then are you going to be more inclined to give up in future games?
That's the key thing.
It's the long-term mindset.
The key thing is the long-term mindset. We had the discussion about the whole dodging thing as well, right?
It's dodging. That's where it all also gets tricky, yeah. It's the mindset behind the dodging.
You're ingrained when you play League. This is where you're trying to get to. You're always playing high intensity, no matter what. That's just your default response. And if you have that over the long term, that's just your natural. It's like every game's winnable in my mind. It's like I can win this game if I play out of my mind.
Or by those games that you give up, you're overemphasizing the things that are out of your control. So you're going to be more inclined to be on the lookout or on the search for those things.
That's right. That's the key thing.
Tick that box so you can just give up. It's like your mind will play tricks on you. Your mind
just wants to do the. At the end of the day, your mind does not want you to win a game of League of Legends. It wants you to survive, have a roof under your head, and reproduce. It doesn't want to win a game of League of Legends. It doesn't want to
conserve energy if it doesn't have to conserve energy. You have to brute force it in a way to use this energy on this video game.
And that's what's difficult.
So, I still like people are using the 30, 30, 40, that video as a cop-out to
get lazy.
Or to not try and to give up and maybe not give as much effort into the review and blame the externals. It's just, that was never my intention. My intention was purely like it's an overarching mindset.
Or like at the review, it's like, okay, like I think I assessed all my options this game. I still couldn't win. I think I played pretty well.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
That's
the key thing. That's the okay.
That's the okay. It's like, I tried my best and I still lost. That is going to happen. That makes sense. This could be. It's not even must be. It's like, it could be a 30% loss. That's like the way I say it. It's like, it could be.
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
It's the fact that it could is enough sometimes to keep your sanity. That's what it is. It's a keep sanity tool, you know? And because like, otherwise you're going to get into that loser's queue. Like, that's what people subscribe to. It's like, well, if you're not subscribing to the 30, 30, 40, then you're either in the winners queue, losers queue. And people genuinely believe losers queue exists.
Absolutely, yeah.
which again, tying back to
Even if it does, it's irrelevant. That's my
well,
answer to my question.
what I think that losers Q is, if we actually take a more statistical look at it, tying back to that book, they're just zoomed in too close, and they're overemphasizing those losses without zooming out. They could have genuinely got unlucky. That happens. I said that last episode, right? You get 6 unlucky losses. They're zoomed in on that. So they're only looking at noise for now, right? They're not able to see the trend of what's actually happening here. But then those losses do impact their behavior, which does turn it into you are then playing worse and then turn it into a genuine loss streak. So it's the overemphasizing of the short-term losses that impact your behavior moving forward, which is exactly what happened to me.
Yeah. And
that's exactly what happened to me.
As you said, our brain's very good at it. Very good at that.
It's basically unavoidable.
Yeah. It's unavoidable.
It's unavoidable. And that's why we always talk about how the LP and the wins and losses, if you're focusing on that, you're eventually it's going to catch up to you one way or another. It's just easier said than done, right? It's easier. Don't focus on the wins and focus on the improvement. But it's just the same boring message over and over again.
People are like, if you say that one more time,
get off this video.
Never listening to this podcast again.
Podcast. The same stuff, but it's just true. So hopefully that clarifies. I mean, it's an interesting take. Energy conservation. We haven't spoke about energy conservation. Actually, interesting topic, kind of tied on to this. We talk a lot about 3 blocks, and we talk about how it's important to like kind of maintain intensity, right? Have you found that you've had a good game and you review it, and then you queue up, and your queue's quite long? Let's say you've reviewed and the queue's like say 15 minutes. Have you ever played worse, or you feel like you've lost it?
Lost the intensity because
of the queue time, or something you've done in between the games?
Yeah, I have this. I mean, when I had longer queues, I would say. I mean, I have pretty shorter queues these days.
Like how long are we talking now?
5 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends again what time I play. But I mean, I have this problem with Will. Like, this is a huge problem with Will. Because, he's like, especially in the off season now, like there's not many pros playing. He's like, he's like 1300 LP right now. He's like, top of the ladder, top 20 on NA. And, yeah, he has intensity, but he loses it because queue times are like 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
He like hard loses intensity. And he really struggles. I actually don't know the solution.
Yeah. Because I had Ting reach out to me and he said that I think he's only in Master Tier in EU or NA. NA. And he struggles with he feels like he switches off. Like he says, like when he does other things in queue, like if he finds himself like the longer you're in queue, the more incentivized you are to like
the more of a risk of losing in high intensity.
Well, you're gonna go on YouTube and then go down a rabbit hole. You're gonna go on social media, or you're gonna you're gonna pick up your phone. Something is gonna happen where you're not in that mindset. And what I said to him was, look, I don't think it's feasible to just like do nothing. Like he said, well, I can just do nothing and do like breathing exercises, but no one's going to do that sustainably over the long run. Yeah, in a perfect world, sure. But I think the better way to frame it is like, okay, if it were to be like Jono for a second, you're not going to be at 100% intensity the entire time. So the way I view it is like, okay, we got to idle the car somehow without turning it off. So like think of it, bring it back to the car now.
We love our Formula 1 cars.
So when you're imagine when you're dropping, you're picking up your kid at school or something, right? Or your mum's there picking you up. They probably, if they don't know how long you're going to be, they're probably not going to turn off the car. They might just idle the car. But if you turn off the car, it's actually going to cost more fuel, because then you got to use the fuel to turn it back on. So that's the starting of the engine, which actually costs the most fuel. Sometimes it's more fuel efficient just to idle the car, right? So in a way, I feel as though when it comes to SoloQ, you don't want to let that intensity drop too low, such that it takes all that mental energy to get it back online. Or sometimes you can't even get it back online, or you can't get the car started. You run out of fuel. That's why I view it. So you got to find a way to idle it at like a 50%. Like it's not really low. You got to manage it. So if I were like coaching Will, what I would talk about is, okay, what are things that we can do to keep our mind occupied in a healthy way that's not going to distract us from League, that is going to, such that when we need to turn it back on, we can. We have some form of protocol or process to get it switched back on. Is that looking over previous VODs? Is that looking at even competitive VODs? Competitive games can be interesting and keep your brain interested somehow.
A playlist, we talk about playlists, like motivation playlists.
Yeah, motivational playlists. Aim boosters, low dodge games, little mini games that you can maybe play to keep yourself occupied. Things that aren't getting you too distracted. Like I try to keep League of Legends talk oriented. But I struggle with this myself. I really do struggle with this. Another thing that you could do is figure, okay, maybe, and this is actually something I want to experiment with, is some form of like a checklist. So like as soon as the loading screen happens, you create like a checklist. So I'm actually thinking of doing this where you have a thing that you have to tick all these boxes. Like, okay, have I thought about this? Did I look at my notes from the previous VOD? Am I aware of my learning objectives? Did I assess potential win cons? How do I want to play my lane? Boom, boom, like 5 things. And then you follow that and you're in. Like something like that.
Yeah,
it's like a toolkit, you know?
Yeah, it's like a toolkit. Yeah, I mean, they'll definitely help a lot from rather than thinking about nothing, for sure.
Because I just think that we're very unaware of our levels of intensity. It's very difficult to gauge where you're at. Because when you're high intensity, you're in flow state most of the time. So and we're actually not present there. We're just purely muscle memory intuition. Our prefrontal cortex, our actual logical thinking isn't involved there. So when you kind of take the foot off the gas there and you're not operating in flow state, you kind of don't remember. It's like you're in a different. It's like a different version of you in a way, isn't it?
It is literally. I mean,
it doesn't feel like it's you.
Sometimes you think it's like, how can I get back to that flow state? Like it's so good. Like how do I get back there? It's like a question you have.
Yeah.
It's like there's like periods of the year, you know, like where I was really like in that flow state, like when I was playing my 3 box. And then you just like lose it. And I was like, fuck, I actually was a different person then.
Well, I think it really is. You are going to lose it. It's going to come and go. I just don't think anyone is ever.
Yeah, I'll flow state all the time. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. It's not realistic.
Yeah. So that might be worth experimenting with Will.
Yeah, I like that analogy a lot. So the question is, how can we be idle?
How can we
so
idle
then
it?
We can start it up way quicker.
Rather than going off.
And
because
then
no one, what's Will's switching it off? You know, and holding it on idle for 30 minutes might be hard, but surely there's a way. Surely some form of toolkit that you can, build. Something to think about.
I agree.
You want to go into questions?
Yep. A short little segment here, but we'll jump into it. We've got lots of mailbag questions. Away we go! Jingle song. All right, welcome back to Mailbag. First question is from Victor. Title of this email is OPGG'ing teammates. I say an aggressive tone because I'm already angry. I'm just kidding. We're going to hear Victor's point here. Hey guys, I know at BBC y'all are not big fans of OPGG'ing teammates in Champ Select, all right? Victor already knows our stance. This is good. Since it can lead to invisible narratives and is generally not conducive to improving. However, I have personally had a lot of success with OPGG'ing lobbies. I don't really care about win rates or anything like that, but I find it useful for finding trolls and people who are probably not playing to win. For example, an ADC main on a 7-game loss streak who is deciding to first time Nidalee in my game, I'll probably dodge that. But beyond that, I don't really look at any of the other fluff or stuff in detail. What do you guys think about using OPGGs like this? I find it really helps and can be a useful source of information. So my stance on this, I think there's a big difference between OPGGing, sounds like you're doing it in lobby, like you're literally looking, versus actually once you're locked into the game. I do have a problem with those tools, and I think you can like click and stuff and like see win rates and stuff.
And it automatically pops up. I've had people in games like they check it in the game.
In the game,
have you seen that as well?
What do you mean,
it's like a tab function. If they press tab or whatever, it kind of comes up, or like a button, and it comes up with like what rank they are. I've seen many clients like a player makes a play and they check that rank of that person.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, I've seen that a few times.
Because the great thing, you can like look at their perspective exactly.
I always see their point of view.
So no one can get away with it for you. No. Yeah. So I think it's a bit better. Yeah, I mean, again, like I don't really do it, to be honest. Maybe I'm wasting free lobbies that I should be losing.
Yeah, look. Victor, he seems like he has a pretty good relationship with dodging. Like, it doesn't seem he gets concerned by the details. Like, he's not overlooking things. Like, he's just using it as a very holistic tool. If there's an obvious troll, I'm not going to play this game. You know, no matter what happens that game, you're going to lose. You got a Nidalee jungle, an 80 carry man playing Nidalee jungle for the first time. That game's done.
Yeah, it is.
You know,
it's
just
hard.
don't play that game.
Yeah.
So I think that's completely fine.
Yeah.
And yet he's not using it in a negative way. The nitpick, he's not like getting really analytical about this guy has an X win rate. Like, he's just avoiding really tilted trolls or stuff like that, essentially. And that's exactly what I do. And Nathan, you know this, and this is, I would say not applicable to most of the League community, but we got to put it out there. Dodging is important. I mean, it is not important. Let's rephrase this. Dodging has a place for climbing in high elo.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
And by high elo, I mean GM plus.
Yeah.
It will significantly speed up the process, especially in smaller servers because of the queue times. I reluctantly had to dodge a few games recently because, like for example, this guy asked for mid and off me, and then whenever someone asks for mid, it's always like a red flag. It's like, okay, let's just check him out. And then he's like, all right, Kiana only. I'm just playing Kiana top. And then it was like a really bad comp for Kiana. And he looks like he doesn't really give a shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, this game is basically done. Like,
I don't want to waste my time.
I don't want to waste the time plus the queue time. It's just going to be a disaster. And I've noticed that game that I knew that I should have dodged will impact me negatively moving forward. Like, it's better just
like
to
a long
take the
term
L.
thing as well. Yeah.
It's a long term thing. So, yep, if you're using it like Victor here, very I would say with a good...
Conservatively?
Yeah, very conservatively.
Yeah.
Not relying on it by any means. Understanding that it is dangerous. Like, you understand the dangers of it. And you're not using it as a crux or anything like that. And you're not really doing it to focus on the LP. More doing just to have an overall more enjoyable League experience. And it's great, man. It's completely fine. No stress.
Yep, so I think that's fine. Yeah, in the lobby, I'm fine with that. And the way he uses it. So next one here is from Moricio. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. The title of this email is Confidence Issues. I am a Diamond 2 Riven 1 trick on the NA server. I have confidence issues and I believe they are affecting my performance in game. I began recording myself when I play and I've noticed that most of the talking I do is just self-deprecation. I don't think I've ever played with confidence in my own ability. I used to shift blame to my teammates because of my insecurities, but I realized that if my goal is to improve, then doing so will only harm me. Now that the full blame is on myself, I found it to even harder to have confidence. This affects every aspect of the game, every last hit, trade, dive, or teleport I go for that ends poorly will turn me to talking poorly about myself. I understand that I should hold myself accountable for my mistakes in order to learn from them, but I feel I've gone overboard. I watch a lot of VODs of better Rivens in order to learn, but even that leads to me comparing myself to them. What do you think I should do? Is there any specific approach I should take?
I've got a lot of experience with this one.
Yep.
Nathan, we've got Steve. I'm going to put him under the bus here. Stevenator.
Right. Stevenator.
Calling him out. I'm sick of his shit, honestly.
MLA member, Stevenator.
I roasted him in the public general chat a few days ago because it sounds identical. This guy, I've coached him. I got it, and now he's in master tier, and he is the most flippy player in terms of emotions. He's just like a little girl, dude. That's why I call him now. He's just a little,
teenage girl.
Just a little bitch. He's just so emotional, and I just roast him now because you can put it in perspective.
Yeah,
he's so emotional, and when he does well, look at me, everyone, win streak. He posts his win streak. He can't help but sharing his win streak. He's winning all these games. Look at me, I'm the god. I'm
so good at the game. Everyone, look at me.
And then he's all happy. He's the happiest guy. He can't, he's going to talk to everyone. And then inevitably, because he's overemphasizing the wins, when he loses, it's hey Curtis, I'm just so
my
lost.
life's over.
I don't know what to do anymore. He goes that next level of just so sad.
Yeah.
And it drives me nuts. It really does. Because you win a lot and then you lose a lot and it's just going through cycles.
If you emphasize the high highs, you're going to inevitably emphasize the low lows. What we want is a nice little stable, right? It's like, okay, I'm on the process. I'm like, so him specifically, it sounds like Morocco there. He takes the accountability to the extreme where it's like what we talk about, self-deprecating. But it's like I'm embracing my level. Like I'm a Diamond 2 Riven 1 trick. Like this is my understanding of the game. There's other Riven players out there. You remember, you don't know the gaming history, their background, or how much Riven they've played. Like, how about I'm like, okay, I'm done. Okay, I'm making some. All right, this is pretty basic errors. Like, I'm fucking up. I bet it's all good. Like, it's all good. Like, oh, okay, like I'm winning. Like, oh, okay, I'm playing these games. These are some of my better Riven games. Okay, now I'm going down again. It's like, okay, what's going on? And then maybe it's like, I'm winning. Maybe I'm going 3-3 on a lot of my blocks or whatever. Like, that's what we want to hear.
Well, what he hasn't really internalized, that. What was his name again?
Morocco. Let's call him Morocco.
Morocco.
Yeah.
My name's Morocco, and I am out here on my own journey. Fuck everyone else. It's not about me versus that dude. Like Morocco. Actually, not even that. My name is. He probably has his real name, Morocco, and then he has like an in-game name. First of all, you got to separate yourself. That's actually step one. Step one, you got to separate yourself as an individual person to your level of play in the game. So when you lose a game, you are not.
It's not you.
It's not you. You are not.
You're
a
not
piece of shit.
the failure, the shittest player. What everyone's saying on the server.
No,
telling
it's
you
not you. They are. That is. It's like that little picture, that little name. That is not you. And because we play a lot of League and you got to play a lot of it, it can sometimes feel like that is you, but it's not. So you got to realize that first. The second thing, he's got to realize that he's incredibly insecure about his level of play, maybe because he's watched a lot of amazing Riven players. So he's got this. So this is a toxic combination. You've got like kind of like perfectionist personality, being a little bit emotional, being quite maybe insecure, maybe like friendship group that you compare yourself with. You're like comparing yourself to other people, but you also don't give yourself credit for your wins and the things that you do well. That is the toxic combination, exactly like Steve. So when they play poorly, it's not just, let's get into the details and this is specifically what I did wrong. It's, well, this is what I did wrong. How could someone make this mistake? That's just disgusting. Like Steve would always say, look at these mistakes I'm making, Curtis. Isn't this disgusting? Like
disgusting level of play.
Who could do this?
Who could do this?
Like how do I don't even deserve to be in a college team? Like, we just say all this stuff, right? I'm like, just chill the hell out, man. Yeah. You should see the quality mistakes I make. I make shocking mistakes. We all make errors sometimes, okay? The game is incredibly chaotic. So you got to accept that. But it's not about you versus anyone else. It's you versus yourself. And he hasn't internalized that. He's comparing himself to all these other Riven players who are out there. Yep, okay. Morocco, you know what, man? Some of them are better than you. Okay? It's inevitable that there are better Riven players than you. But you know what, man? There's a metric ton of them that are worse than you. Does that make you any better than them as a person? No. Does it make you any worse? No. They are on their own journey. You are on their own journey. And there's reasons for that. It could be, like you said, part of their journey, gaming history, right place, right time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. None of that's really important. What's important is what you're doing to improve your level of play with your Riven. Period.
So his question there is playing with confidence. So how is that... it's a nice little sentence summary, like what does playing with confidence would look like? Is that like he's clearly knows his learning objective?
Yep.
He's working on...
And he's understanding that, again, there's no comparison. So confidence, a big lack of confidence comes from, I would say, you got to be your biggest critic and your biggest fan. And he's probably only looking at the errors and not looking at the things that he's doing well. Part of improving at League is you got to look at what to replicate, not just what to not do next time. So when you review specifically, pragmatic advice is, okay, look at a trade that went well, and then look at a trade that went poorly, and then look at the things that made that trade go well, and look at the things that made the trade go poorly, and like just get specific as fuck. The more specific, the better. So then when you do something well, you kind of know why it went well and what you need to look for and what you need to replicate, and give yourself a pat in the back for doing that good shit. And then the stuff that go bad, so okay, that's there as well. But we got to remember, this is the thing, Nathan, ties back to the trading analogy that we spoke about earlier on. Painful, negative things like losses and just red and just dying. These things are always more emotionally significant than the things that are good. That one kill or that one tower dive or that one tower that you got. We're not going to weigh it up the same. So sometimes we got to even overcompensate. You got to really take the time to look at the wins. That's the luxury of League over trading. You could get specific about the things that you did well.
So these are looking at specific, not looking overall, emphasizing I'm the best, I'm winning games.
The more general. This is Steve's biggest problem, and I always tell him.
He's general.
He's just general.
Yeah.
General.
He's got
a bad habit of being general. And I say, well, why are you losing?
Why are you winning?
Why are you
asking as well.
Why are you losing? And what's the difference between the way you played this matchup and then what happened in this game? So then what we did as a review, what was I think the big turning point, is that he bought 3 lane reviews, and we only looked at like the first 5-6 minutes of 3 lanes with the same champion, basically. And then what I did, I went on YouTube and then looked at other pro players playing the exact same matchup. We just compared it.
Super simple, specific.
And we got specific detail. Oh, they do this. This is why. They do this. This is why. These are the strengths of that. That's the weakness of that. This is not thinking about wins and losses. It's not thinking about comparing.
He could still lose that game with that good lane phase.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then what do you know? Stevenator here has gone on recently. He's just skyrocketed, but he's made the cardinal sin. And I roasted him. Guy, look at me. I went 9-0 today. I'm 600 LP rather than 200 now. Woohoo. Well, Steve, I guarantee he's probably going to drop back down.
Yeah.
Sad reality.
Because he
cannot control
all it will take is a couple losses and then self-defeat deprecation to down back to 200.
Yep.
It's not even like he'll just be playing way worse. He's not even playing at his level of play.
He's not even playing at his level of play, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Self-sabotage mode.
Yep. So, look, dude, you got to fix your self-talk as well. And what I said to him, I wish I could bring it up, but basically what I said to Steve as well, you're never allowed to post a single screenshot or talk about a single loss streak or win streak ever again. That's banned.
Good.
You're not allowed to screenshot your LP ever again. That's banned. You're not allowed to say anything general, because he would say terms like, I got shit on. I got dumpstered. Yeah, I got this. I got that. What does that mean? What does getting shit on look like? Did you get out trade levels 1 to 3 specifically? Did you die to a level 2 gank? What is happening, dude? Get specific. It's just noise to me. That's noise versus performance. When I hear that term, like in a coaching session, like, I just get shit on. Like, it just goes straight over my head. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me. I don't know what the fuck that means. Get specific. But people don't realize the power of getting specific. It's the medicine. That's what's going to make you
That
feel
gives you
good.
confidence. It actually gives you confidence.
It gives you confidence because you know why it's happening.
Exactly right.
You're not going to lose confidence with something if you know, like, why. Like, because then you know how to fix it and it just wouldn't happen again. Like, you're only losing confidence when you feel as though you can't change it.
I do have some problems where people know why they just making the same mistake over and over again.
Right. So then their lack of confidence comes from the inability to execute the play.
Yeah.
But then there's another level of that's a different problem as well. Then so then if that was the case, they would get specific. Like, what are they failing to execute on? So give me an example. I'll tell you how I would wrestle that.
Dives.
Okay. So even dives is too specific.
It's too general, isn't it?
Let's say dive though. Let's just take a dive.
Yeah.
So what I do, I'm going to just think of like me in a dive and think of a failing a dive. Okay. So there is to an element like the raw ability to like, you just misclick. And that will come with time and exposure to that specific event, right? You can't be good at something if you haven't done it many times, right? So there's that. But then I would ask myself, okay, where is your attention focused? Because a lot of the time, execution problems can be a failure to know where to direct your attention or what to look for. Or even when you're walking up to that dive, what are you looking at? How are you using that time walking up to that dive? So there's like the build up, and then there's the where are you directing your attention, and then there's like the variables. And then is the play even good in the first place? Is this just even a hard dive in general?
So now that I think about it, if you get specific enough,
there's always a takeaway.
Yeah,
there's always a trend. If you're failing to execute consistently, I highly doubt it's like a micro problem.
So it's where your attention.
It's where your attention is focused. What are you thinking before that? There's always a reason. If it's reliable, if it's a one-off, then whoop-de-doo, we don't know. Again, that's zooming in. We're too zoomed in. We can't tell if this is a real problem or not. It's just noise. Could be just noise. That's actually a really good toolkit as well, the noise. I'm going to really use that because,
differentiate between what's noise and what's actual useful performance.
What's useful performance? What's stuff that's going to influence my decision-making, by changing my learning objectives, where I need to like focus in reviews versus just ignore it. It just happens. That's inevitable,
All right, next question here is from another MLA. There's also MLA people getting shouted out today for good and bad reasons.
Here we go.
We got Hailfire. He's a veteran. How long has he been in Midland Academy for?
This might even be in reference to what we spoke about today, is it?
Okay. I haven't even read it.
He's been in there. So I've helped Hail for a while. I don't know if he was in the Kangaroo. I'm unsure. He might have been in the Kangaroo tier, like when I used to do like coaching before the MLA.
But he was in the Discord for sure.
He was in the Discord. I definitely helped him out. I know he's been here for a long time.
Yeah, he's like a veteran.
Oh, he helped me because I think because so Hale was the one that initially helped me with my itemization video in season 10.
Got it.
I think.
Yeah.
He's a smart dude, very smart dude.
All right, so he calls this a letter. Dear Curtis and Nathan, I hope you are both well, and I hope the COVID crisis at the couch is over. Yeah, we're back in
business.
Back in business. To tell you the truth, my whole week feels off when I miss the Broken by Concept podcast. It's a lot like my ability to write properly after a period of not writing for a while. Recently, I really thought about it, and I found that I have known how for over 5 years, and yet until just about 1 month ago, my writing always somehow slides back to illegible scribbles. I knowing what I do now feels foolish to say it was because until 1 month ago, I wouldn't make myself do proper form at all times. Although sure, I might have a reason. Why in the moment, either it's that what I'm writing isn't for other people to read, or it's not very important. What happened though for years was I fell into my old habits as I was actively working to improve because I didn't force myself to write neatly at all times, no matter what. So all this is about issues about his writing.
Okay.
His ability, just physical writing. Before I jump into the way this has forever been a silent endemic part of League, and before I give my question that, to be honest, I'm at a loss for how to solve, I want to say for anyone who struggles with their handwriting to get the book right now. The complete program for better handwriting, it's like $20, he says. He says, it looks pricey, but I will swear by that book for the rest of my life. Now, finally, onto League of Legends. I made that the very long example of my handwriting to demonstrate how something I spent years actively focused on would backslide due to temporary situations where I didn't do what I should have done. I had reason I would come up with to justify. I had reasons that I would come up with to justify my actions, and at some point, I'd notice my writing. And then I focus again on it until the next time I fell into thinking I don't need for this. I know. It's a bit all over the place here.
Hail, man, you gotta get your shit together. Yeah. I'm struggling here.
So, problems with handwriting. Yeah. It looks like he's focused on it and it actually was bad.
Okay,
right?
Yep.
So, I know I just said I was going to talk about League. And well, other than the word writing, I could describe almost every single time I tried to learn something in League: warding, farming, positioning, tethering, pings and communication, or just learning how to play a champion. So why does this happen? I have a theory, and it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts. My theory is, in League, we are constantly forced to backslide on goals we set out for due to being met with negative feedback that is not within our control. Feedback in this sense refers to output, win and loss, when paired to our input, what we did, how we did it. This results in our interpretation being inaccurate to reality. There is a very special event that occurs which I feel has a negative effect on our growth as players, refusing to surrender. And when I say refusing, I'm looking at instances when an individual knows that either the game has less than 5% chance of his or her team plays flawlessly, or if the game is at a 0% chance if the enemy were to play without any major errors. I felt that often regardless of Q. I believe it is a result of being able to accept the reality of the events that have occurred, and whenever there is a jackpot answer, yes, there is always a chance some freak event or huge mistake occurs, but winning this way is a lot like the loser's game. It is only valuable to an extent. The drawback of this refusal is to allow the game to end. It is a hyper magnification of negative feedback and causes a ton of unneeded damage to the confidence of the player and the things they did well in game. I'm going to attempt a very scuffed analogy, but here it goes. You and your team are like an orchestra. You play really well at first, but the other members keep playing the wrong note or are out of sync. Eventually, the whole composition is in shambles, but instead of starting over, you keep playing and the sound gets worse as you do because the mistakes start to make you mess up too. And instead of everyone getting to reset, you all sound worse as the music goes on. Now, yes, analogy is not perfect, but it's hard to capture the essence of what snowballing is in terms of why it continually grows in effect. I think that makes sense. I mean,
yep.
That's like you're sort of like stuck to play. You have to keep playing, but people are like out of sync, and then that person tilts because that person's like, oh wait, what's the next note I play because I'm out of sync, and then
everyone's poor performance is impacting other people's
that's right.
performance. Yeah.
To finally close off this lengthy letter, I'll ask you both, what do you think is the correct way to handle when a team won't give up and that it is unwinnable? My dilemma comes from the divide of not wanting to grief and open, but not wanting to indulge an enemy that could easily end, but is dragging out the game to farm kills versus the team that won't surrender. I hate going from 6-1-2 to 8-10-8 because I had to play 15 extra minutes versus a super punishing team comp that was not respected and ran away with the game before I had any chance to stop it. I feel like the second half of the game ruins the first half for me, even though the first is arguably much more important. All right, so that's from Hailfire.
Look, this is kind of a flow on from our previous discussion today, but I think it's worth going a little bit deeper here. There's a lot to tackle here. I want to start by using let's start by thinking of it in terms of, okay, we can think of it in terms of like raw LP gain, and we can talk of it in terms of energy conservation, mental state, and we can talk of it in terms of habit building, and we talk of it in terms of your like character development as well, right?
Yeah, those are all good approaches you could tackle this question with.
So let's start with character development. From a, you know, at the end of the day, none of us here are really going pro. There's a handful, like 2 or 3 that I know of. One in you, maybe 2 in mine, that are probably genuinely trying to go pro.
Yeah.
So a lot of us here are here for personal reasons, right? We get enjoyment from the game.
It's a fun hobby. We want to improve.
Good hobby. Personal development, learn more about. There's many, a few different reasons. Character plays a very important role in long-term success in any endeavor. And I feel as though, let's tie it back to Michael Schumacher in his time in Ferrari. There are many times, okay, let's even use there's one of the analogies, one of the exact events. They were halfway through the season. In order to win the championship, he had to win every race from halfway through the year to the end. What are the chances of that? No one does that.
Yeah.
And that year, I believe he managed to do it.
Yeah.
So you could call that a freak event. You could call it whatever you want. But that one championship win, changed everything for him. And he could have easily given up throughout the season and blamed. He said, "Well, why try it? Let's just start
focus on the next season.
Let's start on the next season, But no, he started and won that one game, that one race. It gave him a bit of confidence, and he won the next one, gave him a bit of confidence, and he started building a win streak. And I believe he ended up winning that was the 2000 season. I'm pretty sure. And I think that in league, and we touched on this before. You want to develop that mindset where like anything's winnable from a sheer confidence perspective, and then just knowing how to give 100% throughout a game all the time. And that just becomes your mode. You're on the Rift, I give 100%. And I think many people have created poor habits, and we see this from a different perspective. They play a lot of normal games with their main champion, such that when they play on their main champion, they don't know how, like their subconscious and their muscle memory doesn't know how to distinguish between turning it on and turning it off. Because it's this weird middle ground. Well, some games I am, but some games I'm just playing for fun. And this is like actually sometimes 3 blocks, and I'm a big critic of 6-10. How he does like beautiful games, and then he just plays till like 1 a.m. doing 4 fun games on his main. It's like he says, "Oh yeah, but I'm getting some value, or whatever." It's like, no, you're actually going worse because you're instilling bad habits. So I feel like there's an element here, although it might be very minimal, that Hale here by giving up and wanting to get out and go next could be instilling potential bad habits from an intensity perspective. That's just one element.
Yep.
Anything to say on that one?
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Okay. Now let's look at it from a perspective of, developing a different skill set. We use the example today of Sybil in that game where I thought it was borderline, really, really hard to win, especially at a high level of play. 0-3 Talia, top gets solo killed, their mid's like 0-3. Versus Fed Echo, Fed Aurelia, Fed Cho'Gath. I'm a Rakan scaling into mid-game. Chances are it's a bloody hard game. But what did Sybil do? He played the game creatively to win. He did really unorthodox techniques and strategies to win the game. Does that mean... So he obviously wouldn't have developed that skill set by FFing at 15 every game. The games that he thought were unwinnable. Sybil is the perfect example of a player that doesn't give up, but in the process of not giving up, knows how to win from behind. He's developed a skill set to be able to win from behind.
He's not sitting there rolling. He's like doing like very, would say, high risk, high variance things that just end up working. And he would lose some. You're going to
still lose a lot of them, but he's still developing a beautiful skill set regardless. It's going to serve you at some point, and that can be the difference, over time. So there's that. So you're missing out on potentially developing a skill. So like the Chinese Cassiopeia play, there was many, many, many games where I'm watching him play. He does like these weird plays that I thought was unwinnable. Mango Fish, same thing, unwinnable games. I would deem unwinnable, but he wins them somehow by pulling creative shit out of his ass. The other thing, League's an incredibly chaotic game. And my theory is that the more you are ahead, the worse you play. I've seen this time and time again, myself included. I do play worse from ahead because you get complacent. So you might be really far behind, but the chances are that there is a possibility that enemy can come behind. Even though you might not be actively able to do something, people mess up. The game's hard.
And the shutdown mechanic is in there.
The shutdown mechanic.
Yeah.
So these are all these factors. And given Hale plays in gold, plat, there's even more chance that something chaotic is going to happen because no one's playing Flawless League of Legends. I
think based on that alone, Hale should go into these games, like, figure it out, try and problem solve. Just do an exercise for it.
Do an exercise, yeah.
Do not think about the whole energy, mental concentration. Like, I know you're getting frustrated.
You should be playing a 3 block anyway. You shouldn't need that extra excess energy regardless.
Yeah.
Like, you should have enough energy to withstand a full 3 block. Yeah, it's like an interesting thought experiment. It's like, how many times could I win? And what skills would I develop? And how does my intensity overall?
He uses the analogy of the orchestra. Yes, that's the reality of like what happens, but that's actually, you need to be thinking about, that's actually every game of SoloQ. Like in a way, like you have to adapt to the orchestra being off sync.
I have a few criticisms about this analogy though.
Yeah.
There's been many times where the team has actually got behind so far that they actually play with free flow because they don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah, they actually get synced in a way. Yeah.
Because I've done that before where I'm like, look, I'm probably going to lose. Like, let's just go ham now. Like, they play with no fear. That has won me so many games. People, sometimes, because they have no nerves anymore, it's like the game's screwed. Let's just go in. And you can just make a pick and win the game. That has happened a metric ton of times. And also, the other thing with the orchestra is you're not versing someone else. So imagine if it was like an orchestra, right? And it was like a 1v1 orchestra. Who could play the better song? When one orchestra would play it worse, I guarantee you when one orchestra plays worse, the other one, especially if they could hear it or know it was happening, they could get complacent. They could think, oh my God, I'm going to win. I'm going to get LP in the sense of like league. Oh my God. Then they're going to put the foot off the gas, foot off the gas. There's a whole other variable there you need to consider as well. And I agree in the sense that people are delusional about sometimes whether or not they can win. And I think it's really difficult to think of league in terms of like a percent of winning a game. It's very hard. Like you can call it a 5% chance or a 0. There's never 0% chance, but let's just say 0.1% chance, 5% chance, 10% chance. It's still a chance. I mean, whether you're in a game for an extra 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not really going to change much, is it? Not really. It's not like you're really spending that 10 minutes the rest of the day flawlessly anyway.
If you're 6-1, you have an opportunity to win the game.
No doubt. Yep. Especially with his pool.
And in his elo.
Yep.
So, I don't want to hear it, to be honest. Figure it out. Yeah, let's do the exercise. And
I think he's putting way too much thought into it as well.
Yeah, we're overthinking it. He's an overthinking guy.
He's an overthinking dude, yeah.
The moment you start overthinking about the game, you're ranked and you're in a world for hurt, yeah?
Yeah.
Simple, focus, fundamentals, basics.
Yep. I'm just worried about the long-term effects of following that approach anyway.
Yeah, absolutely
Because he's not capable of determining what is winnable and what is not winnable.
Correct.
So that's at the most fundamental level, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It can't work.
So, thanks, Hal, for writing that letter, but the harsh reality, I want you to scrunch up that letter, throw it in the bin, okay?
Hale's probably cracking up right now.
Because it was handwritten, but then I read the
Wait, he wrote. Oh, you wrote. Can I see that?
Yeah, I was.
But that was
I was going
handwritten.
to. Yeah. Well, no. I mean,
that why
he typed it out. Like I think I just misinterpreted it a bit.
So he typed that. So he wrote the actual letter and then he typed out the letter.
Yeah. But I didn't end up reading it because it's just so everything's together.
Oh my god,
so.
that handwriting though.
Yeah, it's great handwriting.
That's beautiful handwriting.
But it's all like not sentences, so it's a bit hard to read.
Oh right, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's a bit of a mess.
Oh wow, imagine writing like that. That's beautiful.
All right. Moving on here. MOBA veteran, new to league. When to jump into ranked. This is from Jordan. Hello, Nathan and Curtis. Love the show. I've been listening since your first episode and is the best resource I've found for learning the game. I've been an avid player of Heroes of the Storm for about 6 years. High plat, low diamond ranked. And as the game slowly dies, I've been making the transition to league. I've played about 100 games this season and am account level 37 playing exclusively normal draft mode. A lot of my HOTS knowledge seems transferable, but I still don't understand what a lot of the enemy champs do. I am often caught off guard by ultimates and struggle with things like macro and who to focus in team fights. Do you have any advice for mobile veterans who are trying to learn this game? How quickly should I jump into ranked?
I would play 500 normal games.
Yeah, and then play
for
ranked.
fun. No 3 blocks. Just grind it out. Mindless.
Yeah. You should be able to power that pretty quick.
Play some music in the background. Get a few friends. We're talking 15-hour gaming sessions.
Yeah.
Bit of Mountain Dew. Nah, you just want to play as a lot.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter about 3 blocks. Just get games in. You did at least 500.
When you're learning the game again, you should.
Have
It's
fun.
so fun. Yeah.
Have fun. I would love to figure out what all the champs do.
Yeah.
I played 1,000 bot games and 1,000 normal games.
Yeah.
Before I got into ranked. So do that. Play a metric ton. Don't even think about ranked.
No.
Until you confidently know what every champion does, you're gonna get no value from ranked anyway.
That's right. You're basically gonna have to do that in ranked anyway.
So there's no point. You're just gonna ruin your MMR.
I think 500 games. I mean, interested to see what the cutoff was. 500.
Maybe 250.
250. It's hard. I've
Depends.
never thought about
Depends.
this.
I would say at least, but I mean, there's no way you're gonna know what every champ does confidently. Like, understand it's like damage output.
Yeah, I don't think
lower than 250 games. No way.
Well, remember, people play champs to different limits as well in ranked and stuff. If you're climbing, like, I mean, my initial reaction is I need you to get ranked ASAP.
No, but he should actually play a lot of different champs as well.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I did, and I reckon that's a way faster way of learning. You should like pick different champ every game. To be honest with you.
Yep.
Try every champion. Buy all the champs if you can. Ideally, play them all. Basic, get like a basic rundown of the champ. Play it. Try a basic build, and then you'll like figure out what the kit does. And like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, that'll be so fun. Try them all, every role.
Yeah.
And then over a course of 500 normal games with every champion, you will know what style you like. You'll kind of know what role you like. Choose your role. And then you'll be able to go from there. Otherwise, you just can't. You'll be lost.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he has played a MOBA before. I feel like it shouldn't take him 500 games. I think it should be 250.
Yeah, I have no idea. Something we're doing there.
But I want him to get into ranked pretty soon, man. I really do.
Really?
Yeah.
No,
as someone who's played a MOBA before,
I would say until he confidently knows what every champion in the game does.
No, he's going to be there for years. You would never. I don't think that's realistic.
What? Really?
Yeah.
I don't think so, man. Years.
No, I mean, like, it could. Like that he'll trick himself into thinking he's not
about how many
confident.
champs are in the game. Is there like, I thought there's like
130, 140, 150, yeah.
If you play one of every champion.
Yeah, it's 150 games.
150 games.
I mean, you don't have to play one of every champion. You have to play, I would say, the majority of the champs.
Yeah, so let's say 250 games.
Yeah.
You could, if you played all
I think
the
playing
champs,
60 champs is fine.
Yeah, you could. But I think you would, the more you can play, the better.
Yes, okay, yep.
Or even going into practice tour with them, figuring out what
there you go. That would be fine as well.
Work.
Yeah. I don't think you have to play out full games. Because there's no element of champ mastery there.
No, you don't focus on champ mastery at the beginning.
Until ranks.
Because the way you got to view it is...
Because you would literally like not have fun because you'd lose every game. I don't know about that.
Well, like, all I remember is that like when I was determining what I liked, I tried a metric ton of champions.
Okay.
And then, like, depends. I mean, he might know his style from HOTS, right? He might know his style. Like, if he knows he's a mage player, then it's pretty straightforward. Or if he's like...
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. He's a MOBA person, Curtis. I think you're approaching this from someone who's never
brand
played...
new. True. I didn't even play a single MOBA before.
He hit low diamond. He should understand the mechanics, fundamentals of like how MOBAs to be played.
Yeah, but that's not what he's struggling with. It's like knowing who to target and how much damage. He just gets caught off by stuff.
You can learn that in ranked.
But why would you want to learn that in ranked? What's the difference?
Because
Q time, I mean, it's just be more toxic, more miserable. It's just, I don't see the point. What's the benefit? No one knows how to play the champ anyway, whether you're in norms or in ranked.
Yeah, but there is an element. There's a big difference between first time in a champ in a game and 10 games in the champ. There's a big difference, even 5 games.
No, but like, why do it in ranked? Why not just?
Yeah, okay. Well, now I'm saying different. Now I'm saying talking about the normal games as well. Just you saying play every champ.
Because like the way I view it, like if you've played a MOBA before and you've played 50 normal games or something on your champion, right? Let's just say he knew what all the champs do, and then he just played. Okay, let's say 30 normal games on that one champ that he really likes. He would go straight to gold. He wouldn't be in silver. He wouldn't be in bronze. He wouldn't be in any of those ranks. He would go straight to gold.
Yeah.
So, like, why learn that? Why have to climb through iron, bronze, silver when he can just start in gold? Because he might screw his MMR trying to learn champs, and then he'll be stuck in getting plus 12 in silver. No, I actually heard he's improving because he's versing shitter players.
No, Curtis, because at the end of the day, his level of skill is equals his ranks. Well, he fixes MR.
Yeah, over time, but like why? But if you are only as good as your opponents, you will improve faster by versing better opponents.
Yeah, that's true. But
so you know what I mean? So what you're coming? Yeah, we're splitting hairs right now. But what you're saying is learn from ranked, go in there because the players are going to be better than normals.
Yeah,
I disagree with that. I think bronze and iron.
Yeah, about the same as normal.
Even worse probably than normals, right?
Agree. Yeah.
So then there's that. But let's just say he learns stuff in ranked. He's obviously going to lose a lot because he doesn't know what the hell the champs do and stuff like that. So he's going to have a negative win rate in bronze. And the system plays really, they'll overemphasize that. If you're a noob in the game and says you've got a negative win rate in bronze, you're going to be there forever, even if he wins a lot. But if he just waited, held off just a little bit longer, played those games of norms, he would predominantly just go straight to gold 4, silver 1. And then he versus better opponents. He will improve faster because...
All right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, okay. All right. So, I agree with you. So, maybe it's actually even more normal games. So, maybe 500 to 750.
You want to skip, ideally. You want to... It depends on the rank, the types of plays you're seeing in normals.
Yeah.
As well.
I don't know
because I don't know what you get when you play normals at that level, you know?
It's pretty variant. No, I mean, there's a lot of Smurfs and stuff like that. You're probably versing...
Yeah, you're probably versing more Smurfs and stuff, right? It's so hard.
But I definitely disagree playing one champ every game. That's ridiculous, Curtis, because you will never figure out how to... There's not fun in that. Like, you want to be like, okay, I use this ability one way. It's like, now I want to use it another way here,
got you. Yeah, I can see that.
That's ridiculous. I would say, like, if you were to play... This is where I'm going to end this.
Yeah.
500 games, you play 25 games on each champion, which would equal 4 times by... 4 times 5 is 20 champions. You're only going to play 20 champs.
I like that. That makes
25
sense.
25 games, yeah? Because there's no learning, there's nothing.
Yeah, no learning.
Imagine that.
You might as well just go practice tool if you're going to do one game. Just go practice tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Happy with that? So, normal games.
So there'll be 20 champs. That's
20
good.
champs,
That's a good number.
25 games each.
And you should know that and then the role and the style that you like.
Yeah.
And then just all in on that. And then after that, you pick 1 or 2 champs.
Yeah. And track it out on a spreadsheet if you want. Or is that not fun?
Not fun.
Because how would you know? You just do roughly. Do roughly around 25 games.
You'll know.
Yeah.
You'll know.
Maybe you can do 2 champs at a time.
But he should only play 2 champs in ranked.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yep.
As we talk about.
Yep. That'll be interesting. I want to kind of update
Let us know,
that
Jordan.
That'll be interesting. We've never had that luxury. We were new to MOBAs when we came to the league.
But everyone was also new as well. So
I mean, there was a lot of Ben C people that I knew who played Dota.
Yeah, but in general, they were new to the
MOBAs.
Yeah, I would say so for sure.
I mean, just not the people I played with.
Yeah, not the people you play with.
But yeah, Dota was pretty damn big, dude.
It wasn't it?
Dota was big.
That's true.
Especially in Australia within the Chinese community. It was really big. And that other one, Warcraft. And Calvin and stuff, they came from Warcraft. So most of the people we surrounded ourselves, they came from either Dota or they came from Warcraft.
Okay, I guess
all the players that were good, no one was new at least back then. I remember I was getting dominated by people because they all played Warcraft and Dota.
Yeah, I guess.
I'd never even heard of those games. Really? Had you heard of Dota before, by the way, when you first started?
No,
I didn't even heard of it.
No.
It's crazy.
It was just COD and World of Warcraft for me, Curtis. All right, well, that's it for the Breaking by Concept today.
Cool.
Good work. Let's keep it up.
Can't wait to see
70.
Steve. I'm going to send this straight to Steve-O.
Yeah. Hopefully we get a ruckus caused in
Yep.
Curtis's Discord. Hailfire's probably not going to be happy with the way I've read his letter, but...
Handwriting's good, though.
Yeah.
Oh, this is definitely worth raising it, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Good work, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Oh.